Did you know that sometimes Portuguese speakers don't understand each other? Well, it could be due to different things. A Portuguese speaker from Brazil and a Portuguese speaker from Angola or from Portugal. Sometimes they don't understand each other because of the different vocabulary, different intonation, different pronunciation. So yes, it's possible. I'm married to a Brazilian, and sometimes when I speak very, very fast, he doesn't understand me, even though he has been living in Portugal for 6 years. And sometimes communication is complicated. But there are other situations when it's difficult to understand. Even in Portugal, there are people that speak in a way, for example, from Azores. In Azores, in a specific island, they speak in a way that for most people from the mainland, they don't understand. But it's still European Portuguese. So usually what new people learn, people from abroad, foreigners learn, is the standard European Portuguese, which is the Portuguese that is officially spoken in the area between Lisbon and Coimbra. So this is considered the standard European Portuguese. Português de Portugal padrão. There are a lot of controversy because there are different ways people in this area between Lisbon and Coimbra, they can speak also in a different way. So it's very difficult to say, oh, this is a standard European Portuguese, like for sure. But what is considered European Portuguese, the standard one, is more the one that is spoken in the capital, of course. It's because it's the capital. And that's the one that foreigners usually learn, and by knowing that, you will be able to communicate, be understood in the country from north to south. And not only is the Portuguese that is spoken in the capital, but TV channels, the media, they all use standard European Portuguese. So if you are in Azores, in Porto, in Algarve, and you watch the national news, it's going to be in the standard European Portuguese, which is likely the one that is spoken in Lisbon, standard one. But besides this, there's something else. You know those things that you're not quite sure how to pronounce? Those things, they are very similar. Well, depending on the context, it can be confusing, even for native speakers. For example, we have June and July. June and July, in Portuguese, Junho and Julho. And sometimes, most of the time, it's clear when someone says Junho and Julho. But it's also possible, it happens sometimes, that we are not sure. And then we need to ask, are you talking about the month 6 or month 7? Because the words are really, really similar. Is it Junho or Julho? Mês 6 or mês 7? Month 6 or month 8? So sometimes it can happen. And I need to ask, are you talking about June or July? All right, this struggle is real. Sometimes it happens. Other things that may happen is, for example, with questions. And this is one of the things that is easier in Portuguese, because in English, a normal statement and a question has a different word order. For example, do you know is different from you know, right? But in Portuguese, it's exactly the same sentence. Tu sabes. Tu sabes? The only difference here is the intonation. And if for whatever reason the intonation is not clear for the listener needs to ask, isso é uma pergunta ou uma afirmação? That's a question or a statement? Are you just saying that or are you asking? Estás só a dizer ou estás a perguntar? Because sometimes it's not that clear. Tu sabes? Tu sabes? Tu sabes? Tu sabes? And let me give you another example. Está bem. Está bem? Está bem. Está bem? So when we want to ask a question, the last part of the question, the last word, it goes higher. Está bem? Tu sabes? Always higher. But the afirmação, a statement, is always stable, let's say. Está bem. Tu sabes. So there is a context to every single situation. And sometimes just by the context, you understand what it is. Even if you are not sure if it was a question or a statement, maybe the context will tell you if it was a question or a statement, if the intonation wasn't good enough. So always pay attention to these factors, because it's not just about the language itself. It's not about the word. It's about intonation. And for example, the intonation is very important when, for example, we are ironic. A tua camisola é muito bonita. É muito bonita a tua camisola. Your sweater is very pretty, it's very beautiful. It's very nice. Do you think I think the sweater is nice, it's beautiful, it's pretty? With the intonation, you know, it's clear that I don't find the sweater beautiful. It's not because I'm saying that I don't like it, it's because of the intonation. So intonation is very important. So sometimes you don't understand Portuguese. It's not because the words, it's not because you don't know grammar. It's not because you don't know vocabulary. It's because of intonation. And I'll give you another one. When I was in Barcelona 1 year ago, I got very, very, very sick. And I barely could talk because my throat was really, really bad, hurting. And I was this. And me and my husband, we were at a restaurant and I wanted to order, and we ordered. After some time we were eating, there was a waiter that wanted to ask me something. I really don't remember what that was. But she was trying to talk to me and I wanted to reply, right? And because we were in Spain, in Barcelona, she was speaking Spanish with me. And I replied in Spanish. But she didn't understand what I said because my voice was good. And it was a restaurant, so it was very noisy place. Well, she thought, because she didn't understand me, that I wasn't speaking Spanish. She thought that I just didn't understand because I'm not Spanish and I don't speak Spanish. And then she switched to English. But because I'm not Rocky, I'm not new at it, I understood that she didn't understand because of my voice and because we were in a noisy environment. So what I did was, okay, I will try to speak in a better way, try to clear my voice and say it louder in Spanish. I didn't switch to English so she could understand. And this was what happened. I spoke in Spanish again. I tried to be louder and she didn't understand me. she didn't understand me, and then she replied back in Spanish. So this is something that you need to be aware. Sometimes the Portuguese don't understand what you're saying, or you don't understand what they are saying. It's not because of the language itself. It's because maybe your voice or their voice is not good. Maybe you are in a noisy environment. If you are at a bus station, probably it's going to be noisy. So in my experience, usually my students think that if they don't understand them, if the Portuguese don't understand them, it's just because their Portuguese is not good enough. And because of that, they switch to English. They switch, my students, or the Portuguese, they switch English. But sometimes that's not the case. So you need to evaluate the environment, each context, each situation, and see if they didn't understand or you didn't understand because you were in a noisy environment, or because you mispronounced, or because whatever reason. Okay? My goal with this video is to create awareness. I want you to think more about other things than just the language itself. Because communication is not just about the language. It's about facial expressions. It's about hand gestures. It's about a lot of things, not just what comes out of your mouth. And something else that is also very important is that communication is a two-way road. What does this mean? If you want to talk with someone, you want to have a conversation with someone, you need to understand and be understood. You need to have your language abilities. You need to do your part. You need to do everything that you can for the communication. But if the other person doesn't cooperate, maybe the conversation is not going to be successful. For example, there are some native speakers. It depends on the culture, different factors. But there are some native speakers, they are not that nice with foreigners who are trying to learn their language. For example, that's the French stereotype that exists. And people say, oh, I'm learning Spanish, I'm learning French, I was in France, I was speaking French with them, they understood, but they didn't like my Spanish and they refused talking to me. Some people say that this happens. Fortunately, I never met a French that had this kind of attitude with me, fortunately. But let's see this scenario where the other speaker, it's rude for whatever reason. There are rude people, arrogant people anywhere in the world. It's not just French or this or that. In Portuguese, we have a saying, it's we are all flour from the same bag. Somos todos farinha do mesmo saco. Somos todos farinha do mesmo saco. We are all humans. There are good and bad people anywhere and everywhere. So if the other person that you want to have a conversation is rude, arrogant, any other negative characteristic, and the conversation is not successful, don't think that it's just because of you. You know what I mean? It seems like when someone is learning a foreign language and tries to use it with people, with native speakers, seems like they just forget the common sense, those other situations that happen in real life, regardless the language. Even with two speakers, two people that speak the same language, two native speakers, this may happen. For example, a kids and their grandparents. Sometimes they can't communicate because of the language gap, and they don't understand each other, although both are native speakers from the same language. So what I want you to be aware of is that if someone doesn't understand you, maybe not just because you are a foreigner learning Portuguese. All right? Other person also needs to want to communicate with you. So it's not just you making all the effort. All right? That's why when we are having a conversation with someone, let's say that I don't speak that language very well, I would like the other person to be patient, right? And wait for me to finish a sentence, to help me to do what needs to be done to have the conversation, right? I know that it's not easy. Sometimes it's very tiring because maybe because your language level is not the way you want it to be. You would like to be more proficient, but you don't have to force yourself to speak in your target language, in this case in Portuguese, every single time that you are with your partner, with your friend, with your Portuguese relative. You can say, oh, let's just practice for 10 minutes, and 10 minutes just in Portuguese, 5 minutes just in Portuguese. Doesn't need to be 1 hour, 2 hours. That's too much. That's overwhelming. All right. And if you are shy, if you are an introvert, if you are socializing with someone for 1 hour, maybe for you it's too much, even if in your native language. So you see, there are a lot of factors, and what I want you to know is that communication is more than just language, and you need. Other thing is that you need to be able to read the room. I'm here in this situation. Which kind of situation is it? Am I going to have an opportunity to practice? You can actually ask them, oh, today, at this moment, I want you to correct me. Please correct me. Because now I like to focus on speaking. I like to speak. I would like to speak, and I want you to correct me so I know my mistakes. But it doesn't need to be like this every single time. In another opportunity, you say, okay, I want to practice Portuguese, but just today, my focus is just to flow. Let it go, let it flow. I just want to speak. Just today, you don't tell me my mistakes. If you understand what I'm saying, just reply, and we keep the conversation. Because today my focus is the flow. All right. There are a lot of things that you can do to improve your conversations in Portuguese. Also, a lot of things that you can do to understand the Portuguese better. And if you really want to understand the Portuguese, I made this very special course named Understand the Portuguese, which focus exactly on solving this issue about swallowing syllables, swallowing sounds and letters, because there are some things that happen when Portuguese speak in real life that are not in your textbook. So if you want a structured way to learn how the Portuguese actually speak and understand them, check the link down below and you'll find more information about this course. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao!